Coming up on today's show, what does DDD stand for?
Well, DDD is an affliction that I've encountered many times working as a professional organizer, and what that stands for is delayed decision disorder.
How do you know someone has it? You meet with clients, right?
So not knowing what to do with the things often creates that, I think I'll just deal with it later, or I'm not sure what to do, or I'm going to wait till I need help or get some help. So there are lots of underlying reasons why we might be doing it, but the bottom line is we're still delaying decision.
If you're wondering whether or not you should watch this show or listen, we'll tell you why you're thinking that on today's Keeping You Organized. Hello and welcome to Keeping You Organized, and today we are going to talk about DDD. Now, have you ever heard of that before? Well, we have someone who coined that term with us, Andrea Brundage from ProfessionalOrganizerAZ.com. Andrea, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be a part of your show today.
Awesome. Well, we're going to tie in what DDD is with the teaser from the beginning of the program, so let's get to it right away. What does DDD stand for?
Well, DDD is an affliction that I've encountered many times working as a professional organizer, and what that stands for is delayed decision disorder.
Okay, now is this a real diagnosable thing, or how do you know someone has it? You meet with clients, right? You put out a little prescription pad and say, oh, you've got DDD and here's the answer?
Well, it's not a true medical description, but it is, in fact, what I find when I deal with clients that have piles of papers and accumulated miscellaneous items throughout the house. One thing about DDD is it's not a problem unless you think it's a problem. So if we find ourselves surrounded by piles and piles of things and it's sucking the energy and the life out of us, we need to take a look and see if we can find a cure for that.
Okay, now would every person then who's got a clutter and mess have DDD, or are there some other symptomatic things that when you go in and meet with a client say, yeah, this person, we need help on it? Because really DDD and procrastination kind of synonyms there, right?
They really are. One of the things I find is oftentimes DDD presents itself because we don't have the proper systems in place to support the flow of things that come into our home. And so not knowing what to do with the things often creates that, I think I'll just deal with it later, or I'm not sure what to do, or I'm going to wait till I need help or get some help. So there are lots of underlying reasons why we might be doing it, but the bottom line is we're still delaying decisions. So whatever form it takes, that's what's happening when we start seeing accumulated papers, projects, walking into our homes and going, it's noisier in here than it is outside. That noise is created from a lot of clutter and chaos in our environments.
Okay, so obviously you do house calls. You show up with your little black kit, and you've determined they have DDD. What's the first thing you would help somebody with, or is it different for different people?
It is different for everyone. If we're going in and we're working in a home office, for example, the first thing I want to do is know a little bit about the business and what the vision for the business is and who is bringing papers in. And, I need to understand the flow. This applies, though, I have to say, in any part of the home. I need to understand the flow and how this space is going to be used so that we can optimize it. We can create systems that are specific to how the people function in that environment. And the key to DDD, to really overcoming it, in addition to having some rehab, is to create new habits. And those habits are formed by creating a system that is specialized to that client's needs. So it's not a one-size-fits-all. It's not a magic pill.
All right, well, let's illustrate it with a client without using their name and maybe the issue you saw and then the system that you put in place. It could be just even one simple system or maybe a couple things. What comes to your mind when you think about that?
Well, I'm going to mention a gal who I worked with that had actually 3 companies, and she's running those companies out of her home office. So what I came to realize in doing my discovery session with her was that we had a lot of intermingling of paperwork. So she's running 3 businesses, but she's got basically one accumulating pile. And it created a lot of overwhelm for her, and she just felt stuck. And so for me, it became really clear, let's first of all separate the business entities. As if they were brick and mortar businesses, we'd have separate offices. So let's set up separate systems, and let's start big piles there. And then from there, we break those 3 piles down into smaller, manageable piles. And I have a system that I use that works for 99% of my clients, and that is setting up file folders to process paper.
Well, let's get a little more detail. How would you take those file folders? Do you use like 4 different ones, or different colored folders, or let's get a little more in the details of that system.
So the details that I recommend are, number 1, if you have a tolerance for things on your desktop, which most people who call me do, I suggest getting a vertical file sorter. I personally like the patterned file folders because they look nice. And if they're sitting on top of your desk, I want the environment to support you and make you feel good when you see it. So what the names of those file folders that we set up are To Do. The next one is To File, which is a temporary holding place. The next one is To Read. So if we're getting magazine subscriptions or printing things out on the internet, these would go in there. The next is To Others, because we often have cards that we're going to send to someone or something that we need to pass on, and that's what that file folder is for. I have 2 optional folders that I recommend and sometimes apply, and one would be To Shred, and the other is To Scan.
Okay. So you're thinking of something that holds the 6 folders, they're labeled, and then what do you do with the rest of the files? Just in a file drawer or some other box or holder?
Well, those are the holding. That is the temporary holding place for things that need to follow. And so, yes, depending on the setup, I mean, obviously the best solution is a file cabinet that's within arm's reach, but we have to work within the confines of the people's space and what they have. I always recommend a filing cabinet, but if that's not in the cards, the little plastic handheld, with the little handles on them that are transportable will work just fine, or a banker's box. We can't be kept short by not having a place for these things. That's not a reason to have piles of paper on our desk.
Well, I love your system. It's very similar to one I use, because what I think about is at least the 2 files, the To File and the To Read file. Now, here are my challenges, and tell me how I can overcome those. Okay. The To File, I don't ever seem to get around to it. So do you have a rule for, how long something can be in there, or how do you get that? And then the To Read file just gets so full of stuff. It's great for getting things off of my mind, but it seems like that makes me procrastinate even more. Some of those things are in there for months before I ever get to read them, and then I say, well, maybe are they not important or not? So how do we administrate the To File and the To Read file?
Okay, let's talk first about the To File file.
Okay.
So, everyone has a different amount of paper that comes into the office. When that thing starts getting too fat, or you're getting in there because you're finding you're needing things, those things need to be put in their home. So at a minimum, once a month, that needs to be taken care of and filtered out. Ideally, it'd be great to do it once a week, but let's be real, if we're dealing with small business owners and they're wearing a lot of hats, that's not always going to happen. But, you certainly don't want that to now become another place to accumulate things to do. We want to use that as a temporary space, though, till we go put that time on our calendar, which I recommend doing for your admin tasks. Put that time on there and then actually get those papers processed in their permanent files. The To Read, my solution for the To Read file, anything that goes into that file needs to have a sticky note on it with a date.
Oh, okay.
And that date can be no more than 3 months out. So when we go back through the To Read file and we see, oops, that date's passed, now we want to look at it closer and we want to make a really good decision. maybe the decision is, you know what, I'm probably never going to get to this. I'm okay letting it go. Now it goes to be shredded or possibly out to others, right?
Right.
If we decide that we want to read that again, I want the same sticky note left on that magazine or piece of paper. I want it crossed through and no more than 3 months out again. So the next time you see it, now we're looking at a 6-month time period. We can look at it with a little different eyes, perhaps at that point.
I remember this several years ago. I had the to read file, and I always set aside Thursday morning. I was going to do an hour and a half of reading every Thursday morning, but it seemed, and this probably gets to the DDD, I'd get up to about 10 or 15 minutes before that and go, well, I don't know if I can really just take this time off to do that now. And often I would just absorb that time with something else. So that's probably a discipline thing as well as a procrastination thing. But on the to read thing, do you try to put appointments on your calendar, or how do you tackle how to read that stuff?
Well, it just depends on the person. Maybe an hour and a half is too long. Obviously, if it can't hold your attention that long, and if you can do 20 minutes is good. You can do a lot of reading in 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. A lot of people will take that file and they want to maybe sit down and watch television, and they can do that and go through those papers at the same time. The same will apply to the 2 others. If we have things we need to address, envelopes that we want to get those things in, we can actually multitask and do that at the same time.
Awesome. Well, listen, we're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, we're going to talk more about DDD, the Delayed Decision Disorder, and we are with Andrea Brundage from ProfessionalOrganizerAZ.com. We'll be right back. Looking to get your home organized but don't know where to start? The newest ebook from Smead will help you with room-by-room organizing tips given by the top professional organizers in the nation. Download your free copy now at Smead.com/room. That's Smead.com/ROOM. Smead, keeping you organized. We are back on Keeping You Organized, and we are talking about DDD, Delayed Decision Disorder, with Andrea Brundage from ProfessionalOrganizerAZ.com. I'm assuming that's in Arizona. Is that correct?
It is in Arizona, yes.
Great. Well, let's get back now to discussing the topic of overcoming DDD, Delayed Decision Disorder. Now, before the break, we talked a little bit about this concept of, getting your folder, your 4 to 6 folders and that's a great system, by the way. I think that's excellent. What are some other tools or little tricks that you use to help people, get control of their stuff?
Well, part of it is allocating the time. So as a professional organizer, we are also called productivity specialists or experts, and helping people actually reset priorities on their calendars. Sometimes our calendars are so packed that we don't make time in our day to handle some of these tasks because we're just all over the place. So there's a really big correlation between allocating time to do these tasks and then actually doing them and following through. And then a big part of this is going to be to protect your boundaries. So if you've got that on your calendar and your email pops up, you need to really think hard about, do you want to take this distraction in? Because you're going to get sidetracked. And this often happens in our daily lives.
Well, a lot of people use calendar and time management systems, and there's hundreds of them. What kind of system do you do? A paper or digital or both? And do you use time blocks? Or how would you recommend, back to that business owner who's got 3 businesses, who's probably very busy. How do you get someone like that set up on some kind of calendar or time management system?
So what I always recommend is use what works for you.
Okay.
There's a lot of shiny objects out there that, again, pull our attention away, and we're always in a learning curve, right? So use what works for you. For me personally, I use a paper calendar. And so when I'm out networking or meeting with clients, we can quickly, easily put it on my calendar. And then I actually do duplicate work. Yes, time management expert is doing duplicate work, but I enter it into my Google Calendar on my computer. What that does for me, though, is I offset that time because when I enter the address in there, when I go to my next appointment, the address is there, so I don't have to go now to MapQuest and print out the directions because I already have that on my smartphone.
Right.
And should I lose one or lose the other, I'm still going to be okay.
Yeah, it's a nice backup.
It is, and it works really well for me. The key is to use what works for you, right. Whether it's electronic, whether it's, iCalendar or Google, whatever it is that works for you, stick with that.
Well, how about planning? Are you a proponent of daily planning, weekly planning, kind of a combination, or end of day to manage the details of that calendar?
Well, you need to have your calendar with you all the time so you can refer to it. Make sure you set up alerts if you need that to alert you that you have an appointment coming. But the thing that is really important to do is to review your calendar's appointments for tomorrow. I want you to review them tonight.
Got it.
And there's a number of reasons why we do this. The first reason is so you can sleep tonight. So you're not going to wake up at 2 a.m. and go, oh my goodness, I've got something I need to do, and then up out of bed and frantic, and now you can't get back to sleep. So what it does, it relieves your brain from worrying about what you have going on tomorrow. Now tomorrow arrives, first thing in the morning, get up, grab your coffee or whatever it is you choose to drink to wake up, go look at your calendar again. Now your day is already charted out, and we're not in react mode, which is really important when we're trying to have life balance and tame the chaos in our lives. We need to be in proact mode instead of react mode.
Right. Now, how do you get the things from the to-do file that we talked about before into the calendar? Does everything go onto the calendar, or is there just some time where you say, okay, now's my time to look in the to-do file, do some stuff, and get what I can get done in this allotted time?
I recommend looking at the to-do file every day.
Okay.
And the things that go in there are the things that are urgent. So if we need to pay some bills, or we need to sign a document, or, those kinds of things, I do not put those things on my calendar. We'd be forever entering things on the calendar, which is not time effective.
Right.
But look at that to-do folder every day and take care of those tasks that need to be done. Doing it on a daily basis will make it a lot more time efficient for us. So no, those things do not go on the calendar. What I recommend putting on calendar are downtime, because we need that. Mm-hmm. As small business owners, we tend to over schedule, and we don't take that 10-minute break and go stand outside for a few minutes. But also your regular appointments, are you meeting with clients? Are you doing some networking? Those things that need to be done.
Okay, well, it sounds like if we can get some of this stuff down, we may overcome the DDD. But how about ongoing? How do you, as a professional organizer, keep someone on track? How do you get them to internalize the system and use it? Do you have some kind of follow-up or accountability program?
I do. I have a maintenance program that I offer to my clients. But my whole goal when I go into work with a client is to transfer knowledge, because I believe, and I've seen it with my own eyes many times, that organization is a teachable skill. And so if I can teach my clients how to get unburied and how to tackle those piles when they start accumulating again, then I've done my job, and that's to teach.
Awesome. Well, listen, we're about out of time here. I want to give you the opportunity to tell us, who your ideal clients are. Do you work just locally or virtually, and how people can get a hold of you?
Okay, great. Thank you. So I do offer a virtual coaching program, and a big part of what I do is coaching. So we can do virtual sessions via Skype like we're doing now. I offer email and phone support, also in person. So I'm here to serve. I'm here to teach, and I'm here to serve. So however that looks to my clients, we just make it happen. And
the best way for people to get a hold of you is through your website?
My website, or they could also call me. My phone number is 480-382-1085. And my website will be part of the podcast.
Yes, professionalorganizeraz.com.
Yes, thank you.
Great. Well, Andrea, it was great to talk to you today, and hopefully we've diagnosed and gotten some people out of the DDD syndrome and onto a more productive and organized life.
Great. Thank you so much.
It's Andrea Brundage, professionalorganizeraz.com, today on Keeping You Organized. Coming up next time on Keeping You Organized.
He had asked me, look, I want you to come up with some personality types and let's, write an article. So we're able to do that. And here are the 4 that I came up with. The first one is Tidy Trish. Then we have Social Sally. And then we have Visual Vivian and Multitasking Millie.